Hello and welcome to question and answer number 19. It's been a little while since I posted anything up on YouTube that wasn't a training video, and things have been rather busy at the minute. So we'll get what we can up when we can. Today's questions come via email from one of my online clients. I've already answered his questions via email, but I thought they were quite good questions, quite good general questions about training that we could answer and maybe shed some light on for anyone that wanted to know anything to do with these questions. Question number 1. Just click on the right email for a start. How many calories do I need to be hitting to build mass? If anyone's following the Cast Iron Strength website blog, of which is probably 3 of you, thanks for reading, all 3 of you. We are currently in the middle of doing a project called Lean Machine, and it's basically it's a diet at the minute that I'm doing, but rather, well, it's not so much a diet, although obviously diet is part of the process. It's more of a goal-based method or a behavioral modification method of producing the results you want. It can be applied to anything really, but it's being applied to like weight loss and cutting in this sense, because I want to get a bit more shape, and I thought I'd take a slightly different approach from what you might have seen before. So if you want to check out that blog, it's update number 3 where we talk about counting calories. For any kind of the links are in that blog that I'm about to go through. But if you're looking to build mass, you basically need to enter into a calorie surplus. Now, the kind of difficulty comes with a calorie surplus from you can't eat too much and gain weight too fast. You end up getting fat, end up in what's colloquially known as a dreamer bulk, where you basically just put on lots of fat. Maybe you go from 80 kilos to 90 kilos in the space of 2 months, 8 kilos, 9 kilos of which is almost guaranteed to be fat. When you take a frog tech, anyone on the MISC will appreciate that. So you don't want to enter into like a 2,000 calorie surplus because you're just going to add fat. You will add some muscle mass, and even if you do add more muscle mass doing that kind of bulking than you would doing a slower, kind of more gradual bulk, the amount of time it's going to take in a deficit to actually get rid of that fat mass, you're probably going to lose whatever extra muscle mass you would have put on anyway, enter it into like a higher calorie surplus. Unless you're chemically assisted, in which case this information doesn't really apply to you. What you're looking to do is you're looking to work out your basic metabolic rate. If you go to the website, and I'll leave links in the description to this, but basically it's a BMI calculator, have a BMR calculator, basal metabolic rate calculator. From there, you use the details that I asked for: age, height, sex, age, weight. It'll work out the amount of calories that you need to consume on a day where you're completely sedentary to maintain your weight. So if you were to lie in bed all day and just eat this amount of calories, then you would maintain the same weight for a finite period. Other complications come into it, but basically this is what it's based on. Is for one day, if you were to sit in bed and eat that amount of calories, you would come out the next day weighing the same amount. So from that, you take it to the Harris-Benedict equation, which is basically just a multiplier based off daily activity level. So it goes right from someone who has a sedentary job and isn't very active. So let's say you have a desk job, you go everywhere via car, and you don't do any exercise, you don't lift weights, you do nothing, then you multiply it by 1.25 times, and that would give you the amount of calories for your lifestyle that you would need to consume to maintain your current weight. And it goes right up to someone who's like an athlete, maybe a professional athlete, or someone who works like who's a labourer who also maybe takes part in they plays for a rugby club and they train on a Tuesday and a Thursday, lift weights 3 days a week, and play on a Saturday. That sort of person would times it by 1.9, and that would be their maintenance calories. From that number, just add 500 calories. So let's say you go through all these steps and you come out with 3,000 calories for maintenance based off your lifestyle, your age, your height, your weight, your sex, and all those variables. If you have 3,000 calories, then you're looking to go 3,500 calories. You track it using something like great apps. The MyFitnessPal app is probably the most popular app on the App Store or on Android. It's awesome. I've been using it for the last 14 days. I've used it in the past before. Very easy to track both your exercise and your calorie intake. If you're tracking your exercise, I would only track the cardio because that's the calorie expenditure. They do have a weight training app on there to log your weights, but it's not the greatest. So let's say you've been eating 3,500 calories for 2 weeks and you've put on a kilo. That's good. Maybe even a little bit fast, but it's not a bad amount of weight to put on in 2 weeks. If you're 80 kilos and you go to 81 kilos, that's not a bad return. It's probably a bit fast. You're probably looking more to put on 250 grams to 500 grams, somewhere in that ballpark a week. Half a kilo a week's pretty fast, to be honest, but not too fast. So let's say you're eating 3,500 calories, and at the end of 2 weeks you put on 3 kilos. Well, in this scenario, if you've that weight's creeped on and you've put on 3 kilos and it's staying on, then you're definitely eating far too much, and you probably need to come back. So I'd probably minus that 500 calories and see how you track from there. It's basically, this process just gives you a ballpark, and from that ballpark you fine tune. So if 3,000 calories might be an overestimation for whatever reason, you put it in the formula incorrectly or whatever the case may be, if it's an overestimation, you just readjust. The secret to readjusting is to keeping a consistent and accurate log of your body weight, and to do that you just weigh yourself every morning. If you need to go to the toilet, go to the toilet. Preferably weigh yourself naked, and that's your baseline. You do that every day. Log it. You can log it on MyFitnessPal. You can log it on Excel. You can log it on pen and paper, and just that's going to give you the trend of your body weight, the most consistent trend of your body weight. It's the most accurate measure. It's the best way of doing it when you want to lose weight or gain weight. If you log your daily weight in the morning, it's probably the best measure you're going to get. That combined with like progress pictures, befores and afters, maybe like 4-week intervals, is probably the best way to do this sort of thing. You can take measurements as well, also very good measure, on calibers if you have them, but that's getting a little bit in detail. Eating a calorie surplus that gives you enough, like a slow and steady weight gain, 250 grams to 500 grams a week is ideal. You're looking to ingest a minimum of what is the guidelines again? Protein intake for muscle maintenance or for strength athletes is 1.4 grams to 2.2 grams per kg of body weight, based off the literature as it stood in 2008. Is the last time I did a literature review in 2008. So as it stood then, that was the recommendations. I don't think it's moved too far away from that in the past 6 years, 5 years now. Fucking hell. So if you weigh 100 kilos, you look at the eat 140 grams to 220 grams, that ballpark every day. If you eat any more, it's not necessarily going to have a negative effect unless you have some kind of renal problems, some kind of kidney problems. If you're healthy, then eating above that amount, you're gonna waste it as nitrogen. You're gonna pee it out as nitrogen. The excess protein, or it's going to be, at least leucine, is going to be burned as fuel. So you don't have to worry about a surplus. It's just protein is expensive. And then 30% of your calories should be made up from fat, 10% saturated, 10% monosaturated, 10% polysaturated, just for health reasons, hormone support, whatever else. Those are government recommendations. I don't see any reason to veer off from those. They should be fairly sound. And then the rest made up for carbs. The way I typically would lay out a macro diet would be 25% protein, 30% fat, and 45% carbohydrates. Just carbohydrates are so easy to find in today's culture, easy to eat, and you actually get a lot more bulk for your calorie than you would do with like fatty things. Like kind of like like cheese is very calorie dense. Like the amount of rice you can get versus the amount of cheese you can get for the same amount of calories doesn't even compare. It's kind of like the volume of sort of food thing. It's more of a weight loss sort of strategy. But anyway, yeah, as regards to how many calories you eat for weight gain and muscle mass, that's kind of the nutrition part. If you eat like a healthy diet with those parameters, you'll put on size gradually, as long as your weight training is appropriate and you're pushing your strength and you're pushing your rep ranges, and more importantly, pushing your rep ranges in the 8 to 12 ranges. That's the important thing, and also total volume is more important than intensity for muscle mass gain. Okay, so that should cover that. And then the second one, would you recommend investing in a pair of Olympic shoes, normally lifting low top Converses? This depends completely on your squat style. It can also depend on how you're built. If you have the typical squatter build of the short femur and the long torso, then you might actually find that the extra knee travel that an Olympic shoe would give you might actually throw off your squat technique. You might find you're actually perfectly fine squatting in bare feet or a pair of chucks, and you can just do a high bar squat, sweet as, because you're built to do it. So if you're kind of like a squatter build, then the footwear is fairly irrelevant. You might find that a weightlifting shoe has a sturdier base and gives you a better place to push up from in the bottom of the squat, in which case you definitely would prefer to wear a weightlifting shoe. But it comes down to personal preference of the lifter. For like a more normal sort of build, or someone who's like a normal build, not someone who's more built for a deadlift, or someone who's not built for a squat, if you're of a more normal proportion, you probably will like the shoes. Again, it does depend on how you squat. A low bar squatter, or like a more hip dominant squatter who squats like you might see Dave Tate, Jim Wendler, Donnie Thompson, any of the kind of West Side guys or the multiply guys, how they squat weightlifting shoes, probably detrimental to that kind of form. So if you squat in those federations or you squat with that kind of form, weightlifting shoes aren't going to be appropriate for what you do. But you'll know that anyway. So yeah, like a chuck or a chuck or a flat sole, like a powerlifting boot, is ideal for that kind of lifter. If you take more, if you sit back more into your squat, like you squat more of like an IPF sort of style where you walk back out of a rack, take a narrow to moderate stance and just squat below parallel, then if you sit back more, then a pair of chucks you might find are actually more comfortable than a pair of weightlifting shoes if you have the ankle range required and the hip range required to squat to sufficient depth with good form. Under those circumstances, then a pair of chucks can work quite well for you. If you have quite poor range in the ankle, then a pair of weightlifting shoes are great and you should definitely wear them. If you sit into the squat and not back into the squat, then a pair of weightlifting shoes are great for you. You should definitely look into buying them. If you lift with a high bar squat, if you're a weightlifter, then the knee travel afforded from the shoe is going to be essential really for that kind of squatting, unless you have obscene ankle range and obscene hip range, which I have seen before. But even then, the shoes offered, the stability offered from the shoe for the Olympic lifts is pretty much invaluable for the snatches and the cleans and the jerks. They're built for those lifts, so you'd be pretty stupid not to wear them. But it depends on the kind of lifting you're going to do. If you're a weightlifter, then absolutely. If you're a power lifter, then it depends. If you're training for strength, it depends. If you're a strongman, it depends. If you're a CrossFitter, it depends. Although there's probably more of an argument for a CrossFitter wearing the shoes, because snatch and clean and jerk make up a reasonably large size of the training that you do as a CrossFitter. So probably something you want to look into. Obviously, there are shoes that Reebok have made, the weightlifting shoes that have like the flexible heels, so you can like do burpees, jump around, run on them, as well as lifting. They're specifically designed for CrossFit. So yeah, weightlifting shoes, it depends. If I was to look at you squatting, then was to work with you for a period, then I could definitely say whether they're worthwhile or not. But yeah, it depends. But those are kind of the scenarios where it would depend upon and where you would go from that scenario. Yeah, so that's going to conclude this question and answer series. Any questions, comments, you can leave them below. Send me an email, speedpowerperformance@gmail.com. Visit the website, castironstrength.com. Join the forums. Yeah, keep in touch with the Lean Machine project. I'm going to be updating that very regularly. I'm going to stay on top of that as one of my main things going forward. It's really annoying when the screen does that. Yeah, so until next time, this is Mark at castironstrength.com signing off. Like, subscribe, hate, do whatever. See you later. Bye.